Help us understand this. A lot of people have looked at the states suing. You had obviously reached an agreement with the companies, and then the states came in over the top. A judge is now obviously sided with the companies. Therefore, to some degree, I could argue, sided with you. But the larger implications of the states suing and what that means going forward for transactions in deal making.
Well, I think it would have raised some serious issues of uncertainty had the states won in this case. I think, the judge, in a long opinion, well-reasoned, said that, what we do at the federal level, at the antitrust division or the Federal Communications Commission, is not conclusive, but it deserves a level of deference. And he went throughout his opinion explaining that. But had that gone the other way, you would have had, 53 antitrust agencies. I can't imagine being in one of those investment banks or private equity firms trying to handicap a transaction getting through the regulatory process when you have 52 whacks of the pinata. So I think I'm glad that this came out.
This is not going to prevent states from bringing suits in the future, or do you think that this ends that?
I don't know. I think there'll still be some appetite if the federal agencies are absent. But in this case, it was such a comprehensive set of remedies that were there. And the judge appropriately looked and said, my job is not to look at the underlying transaction. It's the underlying transaction as remedied by the Justice Department. And so I think the bar is going to be high, whether or not the states go down this route and spend the type of resources. So I do hope that folks kind of step back and take a look at this. Some of the state AGs thought this was some game of Star Wars. They called themselves Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. I mean, this is serious stuff. This affects the economy. It affects millions of jobs. And, we took a lot of work. I was proud of the work of the men and women at the Justice Department.
To the degree that we have viewers who say, look, states have rights too, and we want them to be able to jump into these situations. When do you think a state should be able to jump into a situation like this?
Well, absolutely. I think they do. And our filing with Judge Marrero specifically stated that Congress contemplated the states having a role. Where the federal agencies have not acted, for example, and there's some localized effects within a state, I think is perfectly appropriate. And the Supreme Court has spoken on this. The states are not preempted by federal action, but there is a role. And Congress said that the states are almost like private plaintiffs. And so they have a higher burden to seek an injunction than the federal government does. And I think that was the appropriate one. But look, whether or not it is a long process of a judge taking a year or 2 years to determine an outcome, or the uncertainty of states jumping in, we're dealing with an apparatus that creates some uncertainty.